With that, on to our panelists. First, joining us virtually is Councilmember Vivian Moreno. She was first elected in 2018 to represent the City of San Diego 8th City Council District. The district includes Barrio Logan South all the way down to Tijuana River Valley and east to Otay Mesa. Councilmember Moreno serves on the SANDAG Executive Committee and just became chair of the Land Use and Housing Committee at the City of San Diego. We also have Supervisor Jim Desmond, who was elected to the Board of Supervisors in 2018. He represents the 5th Supervisorial District, which covers northern San Diego County, including Carlsbad all the way east to Borrego Springs, so quite the large district there. He previously served as the mayor of San Marcos and is a Navy veteran. So, sir, thank you for your service, and please join me on stage. So actually, Vivian, the first question is for you. I want to hear your thoughts about the information that you just heard, and obviously this is not news to you, given your position with SANDAG, but I wanted to hear your thoughts about the overall plan and what it means to your district.
Well, first and foremost, good morning to everybody, and I just want to make sure that everybody could hear me, correct?
That's a resounding yes.
Wonderful, thank you. Well, in regards to the regional plan, I was very supportive of the regional plan, and I believe that it's very important that we have a housing element to the plan. Now, in regards to my community, for those of you who were listening, I represent the District 8 of the City of San Diego, which basically is Interstate 15 to the 94 to National City. And we own parcels in the Bay that make us contiguous and connect us to the southern part of the district, which is Otay Mesa, Nestor, Egger, and San Ysidro. And for us in District 8, it's been a little bit of a different experience than the rest of the region. You know, we are a community, well, first and foremost, the blue line runs through, the trolley blue line runs through our district. And essentially, it's been the backbone of MTS. And so there has been a huge focus with the regional plan to focus on mobility hubs. One of the biggest mobility hubs that is slated to be created within this plan is the San Ysidro Intermodal Transit Center. And just to give you guys a perspective, any given day, pre-pandemic, of course, there are about 14,000 people that jump on the San Ysidro trolley station compared to Comic-Con. For the 4 days of Comic-Con, that's the same amount of people that jump on the San Ysidro Intermodal Transit station, essentially. So we obviously have to pay more attention to, in my opinion, I think I might disagree with my panelists, but we have to pay attention with the mobility of our population. People, especially the younger generation, they are not jumping on cars. I know there always will be cars and we will always be focused on them, but they really have been asking for different modes of transportation. And if we are going to densify the city of San Diego, if we're going to make it more dense, I think we have to provide different modes of transportation. So I'm excited about the plan. Yes, there are, you know, a lot of changes that need to happen. But one of the biggest is, for me, is the mobility hub in San Ysidro that is slated to be created.
Thank you for that. And you know, our primary goal with this program is to educate you all about what is taking place with some of these developments, what these investments are going to mean to the region. However, we do have to respect the fact that there is a feeling that not all those benefits are going to be felt equally throughout the county. So with that, I'll turn to you, Supervisor Desmond, to hear your thoughts on the plan and, you know, including actually even the funding mechanisms, which I know there was some concern there as well.
All right. Well, thanks. Is this okay? I guess. Thanks, Ryan. Appreciate everybody being here today with the Omicron and all the other things going on, and appreciate Councilmember Moreno being on board as well. We have differences of opinion, but I think we all want to move San Diegans safely throughout the county. One thing that will note that this, and I appreciate Ray Major. Ray's a good friend and colleague. I appreciate him as a data guy. He's just in the wrong freaking department there at Sandag, or being at Sandag. He'd be a lot more useful someplace else. And I appreciate his knowledge. To me, this plan is a boondoggle that should not be happening here to San Diego County. It's 100%, almost 100% transit oriented. How many of you are going to get on a train, get on a bus, and then to your next open house, or to show your client a house? Transit's for other people, for the people to get out of your way so you can be on the freeway. And I mean, that's how most people look at it. And I'm not saying I'm not anti-transit. We definitely need it. We definitely, where the concentrations of people are, we need it. But to say a high-speed train is going to go from Oceanside down to the city of San Diego at 80 miles an hour or 100 miles an hour, it maybe is going to be able to make one stop. Because by the time this thing speeds up, gets a speed, goes 100 miles an hour through the city of Carlsbad, which I'm sure they're going to love, or Encinitas, same thing. Then it maybe stops at Solana Beach. And then by the time, because it's got to slow down and then get to Solana Beach, then the same thing, maybe it'll stop in Solana Beach and then go down to. So there's really not going to be high speed, particularly because every one of those communities probably wants it to stop there. Transit is needed. Transit is necessary. There are people that absolutely have to have it. But in North County, we got screwed from the last Transnet plan and the last set of promises. We were promised and are currently paying for 2 HOV lanes in each direction down the 78. Now we're finding out that those lanes are going to be canceled. They're going to take the current and existing general purpose lanes, turn them into managed lanes, which will be for buses, high occupancy vehicles, and will be tolled, which you're going to be pay a fee to get on these lanes. And that's over 800 miles of existing freeway are going to be turned into managed lanes. So that's going to reduce the number of vehicles, single occupancy vehicle lanes or general purpose lanes. To me, the cost, I don't know how much time I got, but because I'm going to go on until you give me the hook. There's 3 half-cent sales taxes are going to be presented here for most of San Diegans to pay for this. 3 half-cent sales tax. So we're about 8.5% sales tax now. 10% sales tax is what it's going to come to live in San Diego County, which is not only our housing, but now our taxes and sales taxes are going to be less affordable. The mileage tax, the states are proposing a 2.3% mileage tax. Sandag has a 2% mileage tax. Now, many of the politicians the week before said, oh, I'm not in favor of the mileage tax, but they all voted for it. And they said, come back in 6 months with another alternative or other alternatives. Well, the alternatives are going to be another tax. I mean, I don't know what the alternatives are going to be, but all of a sudden they shied away from this mileage tax to help pay for this. It took the new Mid-Coast trolley is called, that came from just got completed, just opened up, I think in November. It goes from Old Town up to UTC, University Town Center, and UCSD. It's fine. Took 32 years to complete. 32 years. It was approved in 1989. To build all of these train systems and things like that in San Diego County, if it takes that long to do one, and they're proposing multiple rail projects throughout San Diego County, technology is going to change over so many times that I think we really need to focus on technology and our freeways. There's even a statement in this plan that says no freeway, the footprint of no freeway can be expanded. So there will be no expansion of any footprint of any freeway in San Diego County. So 97% of us drive cars, 3% ride transit. They're trying to get 10% of the people to get on transit, and that's going to supposedly clear up congestion on the freeways. It won't. Technology is what's going to help us and save us in these directions. Technology is going to reduce the greenhouse gases. Those of you that are old enough to remember smog days, where'd they go? Technology. Technology with engines and regulations put on vehicles. Electric vehicles are coming down the pike. That's going to be the new thing. Uber and Lyft are investing billions of dollars in new autonomous driving vehicles. If they can get those vehicles to be electric and drivers not having to pay drivers to drive these cars, it's going to almost compete price-wise with transit.
Supervisor?
So autonomous vehicles are the way to go. Technology is the way to go. We can make our freeways can be much more efficient using technology. That's where the investment needs to be in technology in our roadways that people are already using instead of trying to change behavior. Thanks, Ryan.
So when it comes to this plan, I'm going to go ahead and mark you down as having no opinion. But let's move to what is probably, well, depending on who you are, a somewhat less controversial question, and that's related to ADUs. Councilmember Moreno, there's been a lot of conversation about ADUs, including the impact of policies like the recently passed SB 9 law. What are your priorities for these housing options, and where do you see them making the greatest impact?
Thank you for that question. Well, as was mentioned, I'm proud to be the newly appointed chair of the City Council's Land Use and Housing Committee. And I'm also happy to share some updates on where we are with our housing and accessory dwelling unit reform. Look, when it comes to the housing crisis, there's no silver bullet. No single idea will solve the crisis on its own. But with that being said, San Diego's reform of its ADU regulations has been, I think, one of the single most effective housing reforms that we've ever done. Back in 2017, we streamlined regulations to incentivize ADU constructions. And we made further reform in 2020 to allow movable tiny homes to serve as junior ADUs. And just to give you guys a perspective on numbers, the city, over the past 5 years, we have permitted 493 units. We permitted 493 units in 2020. Back in 2017, only 32 units were permitted. So, these additional units, I think, just naturally add to affordable units in the city. And I think we're going to need to encourage even more building to meet our housing goals. Now, I know you guys are all, curious about SB 9, and we will be hearing the housing package today at committee, which includes the implementations of SB 9 and reforms to the existing ADU regulations that we need to align with the SB 9 regulations, including changes to setback restrictions, reduction to development impact fee payments for ADUs that are essentially meant to get more units built. I know I'm talking to a room full of realtors, and the reality is that we just haven't built in the city of San Diego, in San Diego in general, at the tune that, for instance, when my parents purchased their home in 1997, everybody was building. But the reality of the fact is that, we can't go out anymore in the city of San Diego or in the region. We have to go up, and we have to densify. And so I'm very proud to be supportive of or to be presenting this package to the City Council later on today with the ADU regulation changes.
Thank you, Councilwoman. And thank you so much for all you're doing. I know we've worked closely with you in the past, and we are very actually excited to have you back in this position, taking the helm there at the Housing Committee. I want to go ahead and just continue with you before we pass off a final question, the closing moments here. But I just want to hear from you about your any other priorities you might have, especially as it relates to housing through 2022 that we need to know about.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, one of the things that I want to encourage all the people that are hearing me is, a lot of these reforms and a lot of these changes really come from relationships that we have formed with people, experts like Ryan and experts like Carla and the rest of the realtors. And I welcome you guys to really, reach out to us and let us know what you're hearing and how we can modify our rules and regulations to better serve you. But we have made progress in amending our local codes to encourage the construction of more housing. This has resulted in an increase in the construction of housing overall, but we still have a very long way to go. Just so you guys know, in 2020, 6,482 units began construction in the city of San Diego. 1,708 of those were affordable units, but only 3 moderate income units began construction. And let me just repeat that. Out of the 6,428 units that began construction in 2020, only 3 were affordable to middle income. I think this is something that needs to be addressed. In 2019, I proposed and passed the Middle Income Density Bonus Program, which really provides an incentive for builders to build moderate income units. I've also been working closely with the Housing Commission to create a moderate income first-time homebuyer program that could provide San Diegans making more than 80% AMI assistance in the down payment and closing costs. As you all know here, rental housing is great, but there's absolutely no substitute for home ownership. And I don't think you need to be rich. You shouldn't have to be rich to own your own home. So these are some of the reforms that we have worked on. And as I mentioned later today at the Land Use and Housing Committee, we're going to consider the Housing Action Package, which is going to amend our code to increase the supply of housing. Just specifically, it includes amendments to the Land Development Code that's going to incentivize the construction of more homes, focus development near transit, and create permanent affordability. One of the amendments would incentivize the construction of housing units with 3 or more bedrooms to allow families of all sizes more housing opportunities. I think this is extremely important, and I'm eager to get it in the books. But I am looking forward to working together in 2020 to get more units built and honestly to provide more housing opportunities that San Diegans need.
So working to address the housing supply crisis and help to support some of our first-time home buyers, I think that's something that we can get on board with. So thank you so much, Councilwoman. We really appreciate your time today. We really appreciate your work there at City Council. With that, I'm going to turn to a last question for Supervisor Desmond. Another issue that you might have some opinions on. The vehicle miles traveled regulations that are going to be coming before the Board of Supervisors, I want to say on January 26th of this month. Can you tell us a little bit about that and how it's going to impact, or I guess you could say, pretty much look to outright restrict development on county lands?
All right. Well, thanks again, Ryan. And thank you, Vivian, Councilmember from the Moreno from San Diego, and all your work on the housing efforts. I think that's fantastic. But government's too much in the way and to blame for many of the housing costs. And just one more on Sandag, real quick. Of the projects that are not being completed that were promised last time, there were 15 projects that just aren't going to even be started, 14 of which were road projects, and you're going to continue paying for those projects until 2048, although they will not be delivered. Okay, VMT. Vehicle miles traveled. Does everybody know what vehicle miles traveled is and what the heck, okay, I'm going to give you a short little, okay, you're going to have to get the hook again, but the.
Just to be sure, it's not the VMT vehicle miles tax or vehicle mileage tax. This is a separate VMT.
Well, this is vehicle miles traveled, the VMT.
Yep.
Okay, the VMT restrictions on housing. And basically this is aimed at residential housing. And what it used to be when a housing development would go in, they'd look at the roads and they'd say, okay, the roads are around here, wherever you're trying to develop, Mr. and Mrs. Developer, they're the level F, D, E, C, whatever they were. It's an ABC function. And then you had to mitigate your impacts on the roads and things like that, and to build more roads or put in street lights or things like that. Now there's a whole new system, and it's based on vehicle miles traveled. And so your housing projects are going to be restricted to vehicle miles traveled. So through the analysis, they determine that, whoever buys the house in this development, what's the distance it's going to take them to go to work, go to the grocery store, take their kid to the orthodontist, go to the vet. What's that average round trip? And it has to be less than 18 miles. So that round trip has to be, and if it's greater than 18 miles, then you have to pay a fee, a mitigation fee to allow any sort of allow additional miles. And it comes to about 20,000 miles per, I'm sorry, $20,000 per mile that you go out of that 18. That's with the new plan that's coming forward. The vehicle miles traveled for we looked at all of the areas in the unincorporated areas of San Diego County, and that would allow us to build about 1,700 homes in the unincorporated area of San Diego County. Right now in our general plan, we are able to build about 58,000 homes. It would reduce us to 1,700, the vehicle miles traveled. And so what the county is bringing forward, which is a good thing, our county staff is bringing forward at our next meeting, is ways to expand that potentially from these vehicle miles traveled available or efficient zones, they call them, where you can actually build housing that falls within that 18-mile round trip calculation. We're trying to expand upon that to get it to about 8,000 homes, down from 58. And we're trying to get to 8,000 homes by adding a little bit of buffers and things like that. So it's good news in the fact that we, at the meeting, we're looking for options. We're looking for ways to expand the number of homes you can build in the unincorporated areas, but not the, but the VMT themselves are restricting it to much lower. So that's a good thing that's coming forward. I've been a big proponent for, I'm going off the script. I'm a big off the question, but the 15 corridors in my district. I've been a big advocate for housing along that 15 corridor, to put housing along that 15 corridor. We've got everybody driving to Riverside County, to Hemet, Temecula, to Murrieta for their housing up there. We don't have enough housing in San Diego County. We should build housing in San Diego County so we can help reduce the greenhouse gases if people can actually afford to live here and live near where the infrastructure exists. And that 15 corridor in my district is very ripe. I'm trying to do everything I can to fight any new housing costs or increases, regulations coming from the county or anybody else. We need housing. We have a housing crisis. And when it turns into a job crisis and the jobs start leaving San Diego County, we're up a creek. So I've always been a big advocate for more housing. I appreciate everything that you do as far as your advocacy as well. You made a difference on the moratorium for the eviction moratorium during COVID. Your calls, you made a difference. You helped move that needle, and you helped put pressure on those that were bringing those ideas forward. Just maybe take a second look. Maybe you didn't notice a difference right away, but it does make a difference. So when organizations like yourselves come forward, take a position, make a stand, and you've got, as in the earlier, your legislative staff or whoever they were, Carla and Shannon and.
Well, yeah, we had our national and state representatives there.
They did a great job, I thought, and your advocacy really helps out. I want to make your success is our success and vice versa, and I think we could all do it together. And technology is going to save us, not a train. Thank you. One more quick thing. All right, the most important transportation project in San Diego County is the Del Mar Bluffs. We have a train that goes right along those Del Mar Bluffs. It's about 6 feet from a 30-foot drop off into the water. That Del Mar Bluffs project is more important than any downtown central mobility hub or anything else. That's going to make a huge impact on the I-5 once that thing goes under or into the ocean. So we need to get a tunneling or some sort of project to get that off. So thank you, Ryan.
No, absolutely. Well, this is great. We want to have continued conversations about what is being built throughout our county, when, and certainly exactly where. And so a lot of the information that you're sharing, really appreciate it. I can see that we're pretty much out of time, but there's an issue we didn't get to discuss that maybe Councilmember Moreno, you might have an answer to. And the question is, please tell us what is coming up specifically regarding SDVRs in the coastal commission areas. So I believe the Coastal Commission was weighing in on the short-term vacation rental ordinance.
Yeah, so just so you guys know, the Coastal Commission just opined on our inclusionary ordinance that the city of San Diego passed 2 years ago. So we're sitting tight to hear back from the Coastal Commission. I think it's going to take a while, though.
A little bit of angst created by the Coastal Commission. That's the news story. Okay.
Yes. Always.
Well, thank you so much, Councilwoman. Thank you so much, Supervisor Desmond. Really appreciate all you being here. We are going to take a short break.